Hey guys, we're back. It's a very special day. I'm joined by the gorgeous Shaughnessy, the beautiful Clara, and the cool and calm Justin. That's very Aussie for you to be so cool and calm, Justin. Guys, it's a significant day today. Shaughnessy, why is it a significant day? Why are we talking about Australia today?
Today is Australia Day, so that's a day every year that we celebrate being Australian, and it's just a day of celebration.
Ooh, and we're going to celebrate Australia's participation in Eurovision. So obviously they've taken part in the contest since 2015. I remember being a fan back then, and that surprise announcement that Australia were joining, and no one could believe it. And some people were up in arms, some people were loving the fact, and Sebastian came along and blew us all away. And it's really significant for you guys as fans as well. You get to take part in this contest. How long have you guys been fans of the contest for?
For me, my first memory of Eurovision, waking up in the middle of the night to find that I left the TV on, and Lordi were performing, and that was just like, what? Didn't really start getting in until about 2011 though, and I've been just devoted fan ever since.
Shaughnessy, your memories?
Oh, mine was, I was staying at home from school one day. I think I was wagging or something, and I flicked onto SBS, and then there were all these people singing, and I was like, this is amazing. How have I never seen this before? And then Alexander Rybak won, and I was like, I think I'm in love. And so I just continued.
With a fairy tale.
Yes, with fairy tale. Oh, I love him so much. And I was just like, you know what? This is it. I'm sold. Done.
Oh, one of the things that I love about having you guys in the contest is just the spirit and the commitment from the fans. I mean, going back to 2015, obviously you had the announcement that Australia was going to take part as a one-off. Actually, we forget that it was a one-off to celebrate. I think this is how bad a Eurovision. I'm going to say the 50th contest. Was it the 60th? It was the 60th.
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 I'd say so, yeah.
60th contest. How did you feel like when that announcement was made?
I mean, I've been saying for years that Australia are going to be in it, and everyone called me crazy. Not so crazy now, am I?
Yeah.
But no, hearing that news, it just was just like, yes, we've done it. And the thing about Australia is, you know, we will put 110% effort in, and you know, we play to win, and that's in sport, in everything. That's the Australian way.
And Clara, do you remember when that announcement was made?
Yeah, but I remember my most fondest moments of Australia in the contest is when they made their plea in 2014 to participate before Jessica Mauboy went out on stage, just like an interval act. The video is so heartwarming. Like Jono Lassan saying, no, you're not part of Europe. And then they go like, huh. And they lift Australia with like helicopters, and they just drop it in the middle of Europe. That is hilarious. Yeah, that is actually my favorite part. But yeah, I love how the Australian fans just embrace Eurovision and love Eurovision so much, more than some other countries that have taken part longer. So for me, that is very important. If you take part in Eurovision, you have to respect the contest.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we can always justify Australia's participation, because the question will always be asked, why is Australia not part of Europe? You know, and especially for non-Eurovision fans, they never really understand. And my response to that is, Australia has some of the biggest Eurovision fans in Eurovision, and they've been so dedicated to the contest since like the early 80s. I think it was shown on Australian TV. There's always been this hardcore following.
I think it was 83.
83, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I wasn't even born then. I'm lying, but it's always been my response to those people. Well, you need to see how much the Aussies get behind this and put the effort in. You mentioned it already, Clara, Jessica Mauboy in 2014 as part of the interval performance. Yes.
Yes.
that really was the Aussies coming to say, look, we should be part of this. We are part of this. You need to give us a proper spot. And she kind of blew everyone away with that performance.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad she got the chance to actually compete and not only become an interval act.
There was a lot of talk about whether she would be the 2015 participant in Australia's first outing. But how did you feel about the news? Because we're going to talk about some of the songs. And well, let's start with Guy Sebastian, Tonight Again. How did you feel when that song was announced?
Oh, I love Guy Sebastian. I think he's incredible. He's just like, he's just a next level performer. And I think that he was just a perfect introduction to what we have to offer as Australians, for sure.
On the other hand, I wasn't as enthused about the selection of Guy. I think if you go back to my Facebook, there is a post there. Just in my mind, I'm like, there's so many artists. We could have chosen anyone. I think in hindsight, Guy was the perfect way to kickstart our Eurovision journey. He's just such a showman, a vocalist, a talented, just all-rounded guy. Pun on pun. But yeah, I think we couldn't have done any better with anybody else. I think so.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was an amazing start to your Eurovision journey. I mean, I remember really liking the song when it was released. I didn't know anything about Guy Sebastian because I wasn't really in touch with Australian music and the Australian music scene. But as soon as the song was released, I was like, actually, this is pretty good. And we didn't really know what to expect from Australia. And then I remember because he had the automatic spot in the final. Everyone was waiting for the Australian performance that night because it was such a significant thing seeing the Australian flag pop up and being able to take part for real. He came out, and I remember I was with my friend who had never seen Eurovision before, and she picked that as her favourite. She thought he was absolutely fantastic. The staging was bang on. His vocals were bang on. You could see he was loving being on that stage with probably more pressure than lots of other countries that year because he was having to justify why Australia was there competing on that stage, and boy did he justify it.
I really liked the performance as a whole because there's countries that have a specific way of doing Eurovision, like we're going to see this element here, but we didn't know what Australia would do. Would they copy or try to reenact a Eurovision act already, or bring something super theatrical like Azerbaijan did the first time they participate with like the angel and the devil? But they did it so good, like the staging. I remember like the lamps, the street lights, and I thought, okay, this is a completely different way of doing Eurovision than the one I'm used to watching. So I welcome this as a fresh air.
Yeah, I think Guy, he stayed really true to himself as an artist. So I think that's why I felt really proud watching him up there. And like, I think, Justin, you'd be the same watching him, when he was so young doing Australian Idol and how far he's come and grown as an artist. And yeah, I think he just stayed really true to himself and brought that to Eurovision and added the Eurovision flair. So I think, yeah, that was really cool.
And there was no gimmicks. It would have been so easy for them to think, we need to copy all these kind of gimmicks that we've seen go before, but they came and they did it in their own way. It was about him having a good time, showcasing Australian music, and just giving a fantastic performance. And it came fifth, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, how proud did you guys feel with the result? Because it was a deserved top 5 finish. But then it opened up another can of worms. Well, actually, they've done really well. Maybe we're going to have them back again next year.
Yeah, I think like anything in the top 10, I think would have been a fantastic job. The fact that on our debut we hit 5, I think it just shows, just how strong the Australian music industry is. And we can deliver and we can play with with the big leagues.
And then we move on a year. Dami Im gets selected, who was a well-known name. I think she'd taken part in, was it Australian Idol as well? I totally got that wrong.
X Factor, she was in.
X Factor. And, lots of expectation on her. Obviously, she's got the 5th place now, so even more pressure for her as an artist to kind of replicate that. And then we get The Sound of Silence. And I remember hearing that song for the first time, and I was like, oh my God, I love this.
It was so perfect for Eurovision, and she's just such a well-trained singer, and you can hear it, and I just love hearing her sing because she just knows what she's doing. And she holds herself really well on stage. And like Sebastian, she's had her own journey through singing shows, but she's also been doing it for a very long time before that. So yeah, I thought it was amazing seeing
I think the great
her.
thing about Dami too is you look at her and you don't expect a voice like that to come out of such a teensy tiny little frame. And also, her personality, she's goofy, she's quirky. And then she opens that mouth and just blows everyone away. And the best part about 2016 was if you go back and you watch the rehearsals and you watch the semi-final, every performance she gives, she builds it up and builds it up and builds it up. And then it culminates in this amazing grand final performance, which for me, without sounding too biased, is one of my all-time favorite Eurovision performances, if not the favorite performance.
Wow.
I thought she was going to win at some point. I thought she was. You too. What I thought it was really brave of Australia is that they already knew they had qualified on a 5th position. They could repeat the whole game again and send something that they knew they worked, but they went for something completely different that also did amazing.
I got a sense with Dami that it was, 2015 was about Australia popping in, saying hello, look at us. They're invited back for 2016. They're like, we're really, really going to give this a shot now. We've had our taste. We've had a 5th position. We really want to win this. And Shanacy, you said the song was perfect for Eurovision, and it was. I mean, it was modern. It was radio friendly. She's stunning. She's got a beautiful voice and a huge set of lungs. So she can belt out those notes, and then match that with the staging, which was just perfect. She was on this kind of big glittery box, I think, and it's one of the first is where we got to see kind of hand graphics on the Eurovision, because I remember she was moving and I think it was one of the entries where that was most prominent. It all just worked. And if there were expectations on her leading into the final, she exceeded that with her performance, I think. It just blew everyone away.
Yeah.
And then 2nd place, and it was so close. And there was a lot of us. I mean, I was in the audience in Stockholm that year, and I thought that she'd won it because she won the jury vote, if I'm correct. And it looked like she was going to be the runaway winner, but I think we'd had a new voting system in recent years, and it wasn't to be. But we were all sat in the audience thinking, "Where's it going to be hosted next year? Where's Australia going to choose?" And there's me there thinking, "Please choose London, please choose London." It was an amazing effort, and their best position to date, but maybe still not one of the most legendary Australian songs, because I think we've got that one coming up. But we had Messiah in 2017 with another kind of classy ballad. We have to talk about the high note as well, because everyone remembers his high note, I think, in the semi-final.
It's in the semi, because he did it.
It was in the because
he came and he redid himself for the final.
But such a young artist as well.
I do have strong opinions about that.
Oh, you go first, please.
I think
I can see Justin's just sitting back, ready to give it a piece.
No, I believe in any other year that performance that he gave would have been enough to not qualify. I honestly believe that there was still a bit of that novelty factor of Australia being in it that pushed it through. I am glad though that he sort of corrected himself in the grand final and avoided that. Whatever it
It's
was,
okay.
he was
Spain
aiming to
was
do.
there to make it worse.
Yeah, and you can see in that part of the song in the grand final, you can see the relief on his face. He's like, "Yes, I got through it." And that's how we do it in Australia. You know, if you fail, you get back up and you try it again.
Yeah. I don't know much about him as an artist prior to Eurovision, if I'm being honest. But his age really has a lot to do, I think, with how comfortable he would have felt on that stage. Like, that audience is huge, and like placement and breath and all of that, it really comes down to how comfortable you feel in your body. And I think that the discomfort level probably just showed, and I think it was not necessarily out of his reach. You can definitely hit that note, but you know, you just need to be fully relaxed to be able to sing stuff like that. And I think that, yeah, perhaps in a few years, if he ever sang that song again or he came back, I think he would do it 10 times better.
I mean, his age, you know, probably was a big factor, because I think he was only 17, or he was very young when he took part. But he's got a faultless voice. Like, his voice is amazing. But I think a lot of people forget the pressure that artists can feel when they're at a contest. And you got to think of the poor guy as well. They'd come 5th, they'd come 2nd. The pressure was on him for a win, really, wasn't it? And you think about that pressure on such a young man's shoulders. But he held himself very well at the contest. He was doing interviews. He really represented Australia well. I was probably a bit underwhelmed by the staging of his entry. I think maybe done something different with the staging. I think that maybe let him down. But ultimately, another top 10 finish in 9th place, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And then
that was it.
And then 2018, the girl finally got her chance. Jessica Mauboy.
Oh, Jess. I feel like her entry was... She's just such an incredible artist. And in my humble opinion, We Got Love just didn't do her justice.
I agree completely on that, considering we saw her as an interval performer in 2014 and she was comfortable. The song fitted her style perfectly. It was her. We Got Love. I think she was also nervous. There was pressure. It wasn't as she was just the interval, like this time she was a competitor too, so she had to really perform.
I think they tried to make her something she wasn't. I think she's this wholesome, country girl next door from Darwin, and I think that vibe really suits her. So they kind of over-sexualized her, which I think really fits a lot of Eurovision to make it really sexy. But I think for Jess specifically, the too much movement and stuff really was a disservice to her and kind of made everything a little bit harder vocally.
And it was actually such a shame for us to see there, because I think going into the contest, for me, she was, and for many other people that I spoke to, she was one of the favourites to walk away with the win, because the song itself is a great song, but maybe the song itself and the performance and what they were trying to get her to do on stage, like you said, Shanasi, wasn't her. I mean, there was a lot of talk about the dress as well and whether she felt comfortable in what she was wearing. And for us, when we were watching the rehearsals, it was very noticeable to us because she's generally a very confident performer. And again, I think it was pressure played a part in that. She was, at some point, she was really trying hard to get that amazing voice out. And I think the pressure became a bit too much. And dare I say, maybe seeing some of the reactions to the rehearsals as well. And I always hope that artists don't watch reactions to their rehearsals and they don't listen to the feedback. They do, and I think sometimes that can throw someone off. So she's an artist that I would love to see back at the contest, without so much pressure. maybe with a bit more confidence in doing what she wants to, or what she does best as an artist in her own style.
Yeah, I even think, like, I know that you were saying that her interval performance was good, but even then I was like, no, that's not it. She's still so much better than what that was. So yeah, I think that it would be good for Europe to see her in her essence.
Yeah, we've not really seen the true Jess at Eurovision, I don't think. And you know,
which I don't think is her fault. Like, I feel like that would be like a bunch of people trying to make it work for Eurovision and, you know, all of that. I think that if she had her choices made for, you know, for herself, then she would probably do things differently.
Yeah, and it's what Australia did it at the beginning with Guy Sebastian. They let him do his thing, and he plays really well. So maybe they would give Jessica Mauboy some credit and let her do her thing. She's who she is, and she is popular doing what she does. So maybe let her bring that to Eurovision.
But we have to say, the song did have a bit of a lasting legacy in terms of kind of Eurovision parties and night. Every club we went into, you know, as soon as, even if it was a non-Eurovision evening, that song would come on and everyone would be on the dance floor, and we would have such a good time dancing to that song. So a fantastic studio.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. It's such
a studio version.
It's a banger.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And then, well, you know, we're probably going to talk about what may be one of the most legendary Australian entries, and Kate Miller-Heidke from 2019. I mean, all I can say is wow, 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 wow. Who knew? Whose brain did that come out from?
She's a genius. She's my queen. I love her.
I thought she was winning. I thought Australia had it in Tel Aviv.
Oh, me too.
We all did at one point. I mean, it was just in terms of a Eurovision performance, and putting all in to the performance, that has to be up there as one of the most WTF Eurovision performances. But worked, it looked expensive. It was just totally original. I mean, she was swinging we all wanted to swing on a stick. No one could believe it when we saw the rehearsal. And I remember we were there, Clara, and we were like, everyone was silent when the first run through.
I can only imagine what it looked like in the audience, like without seeing the graphics and that. Just seeing her, like, how high was that? It was like 5 or 6 meters.
Really high. It was really high.
God.
Not for me, but
this was the first year that you guys actually got a bit of a say in the song that was selected. It was Australia's first national final. Australia Decides, and there was a lot of good songs in that national selection. I remember she was up against Electric Fields, who was kind of one of the fan favourites. I mean, Justin, you were at the national selection, I think, that year. Were you?
Not that year, no. The following year.
Okay. Ignore that then. But watching it as a fan,
I watched everything about it. I mean, going into it, it was definitely the song that grabbed me the most, like, studio version. It was like, what am I feeling? And after a couple of plays, I got to understand the story and what she was saying. And then adding in the staging that was at Australia Decides, which was slightly different to what they presented at Eurovision. And then came all the comparisons to Elena Nechaeva from Estonia the year before. I don't believe they're the same song. I don't believe they're the same styling of staging.
No.
I am glad that they did change it to what they presented at Eurovision. But yeah, no, there were a lot of great songs in 2019. I had to think what year it was then. Yeah, Courtney Act was a front runner. We had Shepherd, we had Electric Fields, we had Kate. Any one of them would have represented us fantastically, I believe.
I mean, you're a Kate stan. I'm assuming that you were rooting for her at Australia Decides that year.
Oh, absolutely. When she won, I was like, yes! I was so excited. She's just incredible. Like, she's such a unique artist, and she's always written stuff that's really theatrical. Like, she's written 2 musicals, in Australia. I don't know if you know that, but
I did not.
yeah, she's written 2 amazing musicals. Well, one's a musical, one's like an operetta or an opera, I think. And she's just done so much solo music as well. And she's just, I don't know. I think I'm a bit obsessed, actually.
I mean, she's the performance blew us all away. Lots of people were thinking that she would win, but also we need to remember there was a very important message in that song as well. It was about kind of her own experience of mental health, and I think was it more specifically depression. I don't know if it's postnatal depression or oh, I don't even know if she's got kids actually, but it was.
I think she has.
Yeah, I'm sure I read somewhere it was postnatal depression, but I might be wrong. But it was definitely kind of around anxiety, and you know, great to take that message onto, you know, in front of such a huge audience, and other artists have done it as well. But it was a very personal song to her because she, you know, she'd written it herself. Yeah, it was. You know, I don't think anyone could say anything negative about her or that performance. It was just mind blowing.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is it's the camera angles of the final performance of the Eurovision Grand Final were different to the semi-final, and that must have, for me, I prefer the ones of the semi-final because they were more dynamic, the movement, you could follow it better, and there's like a twirl one of the dancers does on the stick that was much better captured on camera on the semi-final. So that is, for me, why it didn't win. It was not the Swedish delegation, I was going to say. The Australian delegation, it had nothing to do with them. I think it had more to do with the camera framework that Tel Aviv supported with.
But then we move forward to last year now, the cancel contest. We had Montaigne, another fan favourite before the national final, selected with Don't Break Me. Stuart's favourite song from last year. He was a huge Montaigne stan. She's coming back again this year, guys, which is great news. It would have been awful if they'd taken the opportunity away from her. But I mean, were you a fan of Don't Break Me? Where would it rank in terms of your kind of favourite Australian entries?
Higher than Isaiah.
Definitely not at the bottom of my list. It took me a long time to get into the song and to get a feeling of the song. And it actually wasn't until I went and seen it live at the Gold Coast that's when I went, wow, it touched me in a way that it hadn't before. And I think that comes down to just her chemistry and her personality that really shone through. And I know a lot of Europe didn't get the staging. That's their loss, in my opinion.
Well said.
Yeah. I think after a lot of memes that I've seen on Instagram. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I think you know, she was playing somebody's clown. She was tired of being, you know, thrown around, and hence, you know, the jagged movement. I thought it told a really beautiful story.
Yes, that's the thought I was going to follow, that I understood it better after I've been seeing this year a lot of memes, like when you say something you put, or like when you say you're not gonna call him, then you put the red nose. When you say you're not going to call him and go to see him, then you start painting you start doing like what the song says, you start losing yourself for a guy, and then like the meme is like a full clown face.
Trinity, were you a fan?
I mean, like, I have not really delved into Montaigne's stuff too much, so I like a couple of her songs. I think Don't Break Me is really good. I think that it's definitely not my favourite Australian entry, but it's definitely not my least favourite, so...
I won't be asking any of you what your least favourite is, don't worry. I think for me, it was, you know, it took a while for me to kind of understand what was going on with the performance, but once you know the message behind it and what the song is about, I don't know if it's always that easy to convey that in 3 minutes on a Eurovision stage, because the typical viewer doesn't get to know the story behind the song. So I would have been really interested to see what they would have done with the performance, whether it would have been kind of a bit of a copy of what she was doing at Australia Decides. I have a feeling it would have been something totally different, and I'm sad that we never got to see how she told that story on the stage.
There is a video of her performing her plan for Eurovision. I believe it was the Australian screening of Europe Shine a Light. She did perform a song, and they did do I think it was like a smaller scale of what they had envisioned for Rotterdam. It was interesting. There was Hammer, I remember that.
Oh, we'll check that out on YouTube. But yeah, really happy that she's got the chance to come back this year. Can't wait to see what she comes back with, or what she has a choice of. Yeah. And significant as well, because she's a number of artists who have kind of represented Aboriginal culture on the Eurovision stage, and that's something that we've noticed during Australia's time, is the multicultural aspect of Australia as a country, and how they're very proud to show off their history. It's not always been a great history. There's been prejudice. However, modern Australia. I mean, Shanacy, what are your thoughts
on Indigenous Australians in Eurovision?
In general,
I think it's fantastic. I think that it's really important for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artists to have a platform, and for them to have a platform as huge as Eurovision is just like next level. So if Electric Fields can somehow get into Eurovision, I would love that, because I think they're incredible. Yeah, I just think it's really pivotal. There'll be a big shift, especially for Australians, for us to really start celebrating our artists that are Indigenous, because I think there's not many famous Indigenous Australian artists, and I think that Eurovision could definitely help get their name out there, even just for our own country.
Yeah, I mean, it is really important, and I love the kind of Australian approach to that, especially when it comes to the national selections. They make sure there's a real broad range of songs for the public to choose from. And it was significant in itself that Jessica Mauboy was the artist that was selected to sing 6-7 years ago in that interview in 2014. It was a really significant moment. Guys, I'm going to have to put you on the spot. We're all going to have to choose our favourite Australian entry of all time. So you can include Montaigne's entry as well. So,
you're making.
I always go last.
Gravity. Then I'll go for Gravity.
Justin.
Ooh, song, sound of silence, performance, and staging, 0 W.
Go on, Shanacy.
Obviously, it's Kate.
And I have to go for Dami Im, Sound of Silence. It just blew me away, and I was really kind of hoping it would win that year. But so many great songs. Well, I say so many. There's six we could have chosen from. But yeah, all great songs, great entries. And I think all did Australia very proud. I'm sure you guys would agree with me. So guys, some great Eurovision entries have gone before us for Australia. After Montaigne's entry this year, are there any artists that you would love to see represent Australia on that Eurovision stage?
I would love to see the Veronicas. I am so into them. I love them. Do you think as Australians what is your opinion as Australians? Would they be interested in representing the country?
They've actually come out a couple of times in interviews and said that they would love to represent Australia for Eurovision. So, that's one box tick. They just need a song and compete in 2022 at Australia Decides, and hopefully.
Fingers crossed they do.
And also, we may see a return for Dami Im, because she was originally meant to come back this year, but obviously things have changed since cancellation. I would love to see her back on the Eurovision stage. I want to see her win. That would make my dreams come true. But yeah, there's so much talent in the Australian music scene, and that's what I love about having Australia in the contest is we get to see a glimpse of that. You know, being over the other side of the world, me from the UK, I don't know much about the scene, so it opens it up and makes me want to explore more because Australia has a great music scene. Lots of artists are there to be discovered, lots of different musical styles from lots of different backgrounds and different cultures. So, you know, my advice to anyone to watching this is go and discover some of that Australian music scene and make up your own minds of what artists you would love to represent Australia at Eurovision. So, guys, I had to ask you, what do I say to the next person that says to me, why is Australia in Eurovision? They don't deserve to be there.
Slap them. No, kidding. Tell
Well,
them that we earned it.
The question you should be asking.
You did earn it.
I think the
And I
question
think
you should be asking is, why is it taking us so long to get there?
he got it. He got it.
Yeah,
Oh.
but you're there, you're staying, you're not been made permanent exactly, but we think you're kind of permanent. And we love having Australia in the Eurovision family. We don't ever want you guys to go anywhere. And I think we're thankful for what you guys have brought because it was a breath of fresh air in 2015. And it's always a country that we look forward to seeing performing on the stage. So long may that continue. But guys, there is one thing that's even more important to me about Australia being in Eurovision Song Contest than the music of the singers that have gone before. And it is the one legend that we've not spoken about. And that legend is Lin Chin.
Yay!
If anyone fall in love with someone, as the Eurovision community did, it was her. She became a legend after one night. If you don't know who we're talking about, you must go and watch Lin Chin giving the Australian jury points from, I think, Eurovision 2015. I think she did 3 years, so I think 2017 was her last year. And then she sadly deserted us. Lin Chin, we want you back. But guys, she is a legend in her own right, yeah?
Yes.
Absolutely.
She is. She's been a staple of Australian TV for over 30 years. She started as a newsreader on SBS. And, you know, she's holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah, Lin Chin, we want you back. We're going to start a campaign. We're going to petition SBS. We want to see you next year, this year, giving the Australian votes again because we miss you. But guys, probably a good place to wrap it up. If you're watching still, we would love to know your favourite Australian Eurovision entries in the comments below. And also let us know who you would love to see representing Australia from 2022 onwards. Otherwise, make sure you go to our Facebook page, give us a like there, tweet us on Twitter, find us on Instagram, and subscribe to the Eurovoxx channel if you haven't. To make sure that you don't miss any of our videos coming up for the Eurovision 2021 season. But Justin, Shanacy, Clara, I want to say thank you. And we will see you all in the next video. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.